Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. This time I wanted to talk a little bit about some books that you may start paying closer attention to. Alright, next week I'll get back to crazy comic book prices. I thought I'd take a little break this week and talk about this subject before some of the books that I mentioned become episodes on crazy comic book prices. So anyway, I've mentioned this topic a little in other videos in small portions. Okay, today I think there's a lot of people trying to figure out what's going to be the next big book, because a lot of books have gone really, they've left the planet when it comes to prices. And I've mentioned this one over and over again with X-Men #1. I can't believe some of the prices in low grade what these things are getting. 4.0s, 3.0s, 4.5s, okay? So I think a lot of people are trying to chase down those books. And quite frankly, I think those books are really, they're really out of reach now. When it comes to X-Men #1 and Incredible Hulk 181, I think some people back in the day, I don't collect anything lower than a 5.0. Well, now they probably would love to have a 5.0 or below a 5.0 on those books of what it used to go for, because 5.0 higher for X-Men #1, Incredible Hulk 181, and so many others that I've talked about, or so many others that you know about, are now really unattainable for the just regular collector. So, with that being said, so what should I be getting now? I mean, I still would love to get a Tomb of Dracula 10 at a 9.0, but I just can't justify spending whatever it is. I think it's several thousand, a couple $1,000s, or another book, or whatever, or Werewolf by Night. What should I be getting? So that maybe I could be ahead of the curve when it comes to some of these prices, or maybe I could get stuff that maybe I could sell down the line and eventually get a Tomb of Dracula 10. What should I be getting? It's difficult to say. I've mentioned in previous videos that you should be concentrating on some of the characters that surround the main character. Oh, there's a Blade movie, so everybody now all of a sudden wants the first appearance of Blade. Moon Knight TV series, now everybody all of a sudden wants the first appearance of Moon Knight, and spending all these crazy dollars on these first appearances. You should be looking at characters that make up their supporting cast. Characters you may care about and characters you may not care about, so that you could either flip or put in your collection, depending on what you want to do before the prices get out of hand. And there are still many books out there that are attainable, but I have a long box of books I would like to sell, and I have a short box of what I would consider speculation books. Characters, events surround some of these bigger books that are going for crazy prices. So what should you be looking at? Surprised that a lot of people are not necessarily looking at Adam Warlock. Now, I know there are probably a decent amount that are. I'm using general terms, and I shouldn't. But if you look at some of the prices on those Adam Warlock appearances, even though Fantastic Four 66, he doesn't appear in that, it's part of his origin. But then when you get to the 67, you get to the Thor 165, you get to the Marvel Premiere #1, all those books, in decent grades, 7.0s, will cost you several $100s, maybe closer to $1,000 if you're looking to get some of them in really, really high grade, right? But for those of you that want maybe that 5.0 that you didn't want to look at years ago, or a 7.5 in those books, I still think that you could get those Adam Warlock books for a decent price. As of right now, April 2021. A few months from now, a year or two from now, who knows, it might be different. But as of right now, the present, April 2021, you can get those books for a decent price. Now, when you look at them and you say, well, decent price, I'd like to get a 7.0 Fantastic Four 67. But that's like over $500. That's not decent. Well, actually it is. I mean, if you've seen some of my crazy prices videos where books that were selling for about $500 a couple of years ago are now selling for $2,000 plus in the same grade, I would say that if you were looking to invest in some books, I would think Adam Warlock is a good one before it might be too late. Characters like Ghost Rider, Marvel Spotlight 5 recently, I think an 8.0 sold for over $6,000. That's insane. I never would have thought that a Marvel Spotlight 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I came back, 7 years ago, when I came back to the hobby, and I know everyone's saying, well, that was a long time ago. Yes and no. It might seem like a long time ago. It really wasn't that long ago. But even then, if Ghost Rider would have been suggested that he was going to be in a movie, or optioned for a movie, or rumored to be in a movie, I don't think the book would have gone up it would have gone up, but I don't think it would have gone up to $5,000-$6,000 in that grade back then, as it is today. So I get back to saying, well, yeah, $500 on maybe I don't know if it's actually that much. $500-$600 on a 7.5 Fantastic 7.0 Fantastic Four 64 or a Thor 165 is really not that much compared to what it could go for. And Adam Warlock, unlike Ghost Rider, or at least I think as of right now, it was hinted that it's going to show up in the Marvel Universe at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. You saw the cocoon. I don't think it's going to be something that they just don't cover again. Adam Warlock is probably going to come in subcapacity, and I just don't think he's going to be in one movie only. So here's a character that they teased is probably going to show up. Yet his books, and some of the grades that I mentioned, are not as pricey as Ghost Rider, who I don't think has been mentioned to show up in the Marvel Universe. It's most likely he's going to. Speculation, all that stuff. But there's been nothing on him as of yet, like with Adam Warlock. So you might want to look at some of those Adam Warlock books before they become out of reach. And instead of saying, oh, I should have bought them back then, when I had the chance. Now's the time to be thinking about some of those Bronze Age books. I talked about this briefly to Mike, the Mike I associate with, right? Has his own channel here, which I'll put in the link. It's really the time to start buying some of those Bronze Age books. I know Amazing Spider-Man 129 and Werewolf by Night 32 and Incredible Hulk 181. Those are some Bronze Age examples of Bronze Age books that might be out of reach, but it may not be such a bad idea to start getting some of those Marvel premieres, Luke Cage 1s, and all of that, because you might regret not getting them now. In decent, you could probably get a Luke Cage number 1, 8.0 for a few $100s. And, I think that's a pretty good price. But you just never know. The other question is, okay, if I buy these books, or I buy books that I think are good books to get, I think that might appear in Phase 5, what happens if the prices go down? Well, that's a risk you're going to have to take. Whenever it comes to investment, there's always risk. Okay, you'll have those people that come on YouTube or Instagram talking about they spent $10 on this book and now it's $500, patting themselves on the back, asking, hey, did I do well with this? All happy. You got to take the good with the bad. So if you spend a certain amount of money on a book and it turns out not to work out, yes, it's frustrating, I understand, but like I said, there's always some level of risk that you're just going to have to be willing to take. If you're in the position to take it. If you're not in the position to take it, then you can't take it. But there's always risk. So again, touching up on this subject, will these books go down in value? I think what goes up must come down. To some level. The X-Men number 1, 3.0, I think sold for $15,000. I think eventually it's going to sell for a little less. But I don't think, and I feel this is the same way for most books, I don't think it's going to go down to 2013, 2015 prices again, where you could get a 3.0 for maybe $3,000, $3,400, give or take a few $100s. I don't think it's ever going to go back to that. So if you're hoping that it's going to go back to that, I think you might have missed the boat. And I know everyone's saying, oh, this is going to crash, this is going to crash. You just never know. You just never know what's going to happen. A year ago, people were talking about how, a little over a year ago, people were talking about how comic book prices on keys are down. They're down. Well, now look, they're up. what goes up must come down. What goes up does usually come down, right? It happens. But you just never know. There's risk involved, but I just don't feel that some of these books, let's say, for example, X-Men 15,000, let's say it starts selling regularly for 8,000, 9,000. Wow, that's a significant drop. Yes, it is a significant drop, but it's also a significant increase from what it used to be going for, right? When I used to think about saving a few $1,000s to put on a low-grade a Marvel Silver first, like an X-Men #1 or Avengers #1 or a Tales of Suspense 39, you save a few $1,000s, a little more than that, and you can get one of those at maybe a 3.0, 4.0. I never would have thought that saving that exact money would now get me maybe an 8.0 Marvel Spotlight 5. It's just insane. So what I'm trying to say is, even though some of these things probably will go down, I don't know how by much, will go down, it's still a significant increase from what it was going. It's going to stay at probably at a significant increase from what it used to go for. So it's just those are some things to keep in mind. You know, sometimes the glass is not necessarily half empty, it's half full, right? But I'd be interested in hearing what you think about all this, you know, when it comes to prices going down, books that are no longer attainable for you, because it's true. A lot of them are just, I don't think, for the average collector, unless you have money that you're willing to spend and money that is no problem for you, then, well, yeah, then you can get whatever you want. But I think most people don't get whatever they want. It's hard, or at least now it's a lot harder. If you didn't get that X-Men #1 a year ago or 6 months ago, what is the likelihood of you getting it now? You know? So be interested in hearing what you have to say about it. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. And like I said, next week I'll have some more insane comic book prices. But I just thought this was interesting to talk about, like what some books you should be focusing on. I think Adam Warlock, those books are worth focusing on. I think Werewolf by Night, Marvel Spotlight 2. I think that's going for several $100s, but I think it's probably worth it if Marvel's going to go start touching up on some supernatural elements. I don't think Werewolf by Night is too far away, and some other characters. So maybe now's the time maybe to get some of those. But remember, there's always risk involved. Thank you for watching. Take care.